Hi, my name is Woodward and welcome to IRE TV. Today I want to chat with you about words. Now, words are a module all of their own in communication. As a lot of you know, I'm from the sales industry, but in the last 5 years I spent an enormous amount of time on words with the property management industry. That's because sometimes a property manager may use words that could be a little bit sharp, and that sharp word gets a reaction, or they don't use it in a sequence. Now, a sequence of words is perfect when you are trying to get the rent at the right price. And just ringing the owner, landlord, to say, we need to reduce the price isn't a good strategy. They'll resist that. I should have gone with the other agent. You'll get kickback. And how many times do you want to hit that brick wall rather than using some technique? Now, be it sales or property management, the best way to do any sort of rent reduction or price reduction, the only difference between sales and rental is not so much the percentage, but a true price reduction in real estate sales could be $40,000. Otherwise, it's looked at as a trim, not a full cut. And where in a rent reduction, that could be $15, $20, $30, depending on how you get the response you're getting from the owner. But if we look at the words we use and the staging of the words, there's a bit of a technique to it. So for example, if I was to call you now as my landlord and say, hi Peter, it's Lee from Inspect Real Estate. I'm just calling you about the rent and the response we've had from the tenant community. What about my rent? Well, right now I don't want to reduce it. I want to leave it where it is for another week. I've got another couple of people that I still think I've got a chance with. Now, a lot of the others have not opted to put in an application or go any further, but that's okay. That's my job to get every last dollar I can out of the marketplace. But what I'll be doing next week is looking for our next audience. Meaning, when they go onto the sites right now and they place in what they can afford to pay, or they've got their own idea of what it is, we're missing our next audience. So I'm just calling you to say, I don't want to reduce it today, but next Tuesday, our next price would be. And when you say next, they understand that's the next step, it's the next price, it's what the result is. But by saying you don't want to reduce it now, they love you for it, because the owner's saying, I don't want to reduce it now. But you've got to do this in forecasting at least a week or two in advance. So as you are working a property, even diarise that, okay, we're here now, but that's got to be reduced on the 15th, which means I've got to make the call on the 7th and say, I don't want to reduce it right now, but in 1 week's time, if I haven't landed that person, we're going to go to our next audience and our next price would be. Words make such a difference in everything we communicate. And one thing I've learned over the many, many years is people dig into arrogance, they give into courtesy. And the courteous way of saying to someone that I don't need to do this now, I'll do it next week, the owner also knows that you're prepared to sweat a little, meaning get to work. It's your job to get me that rent, so go and do that for the next week. Don't just tell me I have to reduce it now. And by the time they've had that adjustment period of 7 days and you were scheduled to reduce on that day anyway, with all your next advertising and the new alerts that you're going to send out, the owner's been part of the process and not fighting you over the process. Hi, Lee Woodward back here again with my second tip of this segment. It's amazing when we talk about words. There's the words we use and then how we deliver those words. So for example, there's a great technique in speaking called pause talking. So I'm going to talk to you now and I'm going to pause on a word that means nothing. And if I pause for long enough, you may think I've even asked you a question. However, when I'm trying to deliver something that's serious, I can then start the information quite nice, and I'm just calling to tell you about. However, for your own benefit, if we don't receive that rent by the 15th, I'm not going to be able to protect you with what happens. And I really like you in the property, we've got on well, but this must be paid. And it's the pausing around that word that brings in the intention. But you never want to threaten anyone. So I know in the sales environment, quite often we'll get this constant objection about fees, everyone's the same, and why would I go with you guys? Yet, if I was to spin that round with words and pausing, I could say, I can appreciate you thinking we're all the same. But that's like me saying to you, all school teachers are the same. Or do you believe a really good school teacher would have a significant impact on the education of your children? Well, I feel the right agent has a huge impact on the profit you receive in the sale of your property. And by the way, I'm not asking you for any money this evening, just the opportunity to show you what I can do. I go to work, I get my whole team to work on it, we invest our time and money, and if I don't get the result you're happy with, you pay me nothing, because we are paid on a performance fee, and I can't be fairer than that. So when you sell a property, we're part of your profits, not expenses. And that time to be serious when you're doing words is when you want to emphasise a point. So when we look at a tenant who hasn't paid rent, or you've got a landlord saying, but another agent rang me today and they've offered me 4 weeks free rent and a cheaper rate than you into the future. Pause when you get that and then ask a question. And remember, questions get answers, statements get judged. You can say you're better than them and this is why and go into your full flight mode. Or you could just say, John, I appreciate you bringing this to my attention. That sounds like a good offer. Is there any reason why you haven't appointed them at this point? Now, the answer to this is going to be your trigger to go into the next direction. And they may say, oh, we really like you guys, you've done a good job till now. Well, we do a good job because we do everything we can and we take no shortcuts, and we don't definitely take a shortcut by offering a lesser rate for a service we won't be able to provide. And I fully respect you bringing this to my attention. It's a good offer, perceived good offer, but I can assure you there is no shortcuts to a great tenant, and I can never protect you against damages of a bad tenant who was let in by someone taking shortcuts. So John, the decision is yours, but I can assure you, you have our intention, and we will do everything to protect the asset, not just land a cheap tenant at a cheap rate. You wouldn't engage us for that. So as we go through this segment, it's the pausing that allows the air, the breathing space. And sometimes you've got to ask a question and not auto-respond to their answer. Let them respond. If it's a great objection on their part, just say, look, I really appreciate you bringing this up. Could you just run that by me again so I clearly understand it? And quite often the second time of them saying it doesn't sound as good anyway. So use pausing. When you need to be firm, it's okay to go into that voice, but you are of concern to them that I can't protect you any further if you don't take my guidance. I'm here to advise you. You're one of our tenants, and yes, the owner is one of our landlords, but this must be paid. Now that we've discussed words in many different ways, let's just have a look at the formula for overcoming objections. A lot of people think they need to know every answer, script and dialogue and response, and I think those days are over. Our consumer has changed, and you having some sharp, robotic response doesn't work in your favour. Even when we're teaching words now, we don't use the words scripts and dialogues. We use the words and concepts that make it all make sense. So instead of trying to remember every single objection, which you can't do, what you can do is remember the formula. And there's 4 steps to the formula. Number 1, whatever they bring up, just welcome it on board. Thank you for bringing this to my attention. Thank you for bringing that up. This is great, you're reaching out to mention this to us now. If you welcome the objection on board, they're seeing they're not rattling you. Whereas if you fight back straight away, they're like, oh, you didn't handle that too well. So just stay calm, breathe, no matter what it is, just welcome that objection on board. So let's take an example of a fee objection. So they may say, Lee, we've interviewed you and 5 other property managers and we've been offered far better rates than yours. Are you prepared to match their rates? Firstly, thank you for bringing this up and even bringing it to our attention. You must be close to making the decision to go ahead with us. Otherwise you wouldn't question, you just would have gone with those companies. And can I ask you, is there any reason why you haven't appointed them? So I've welcomed the objection on board and so forth. Step 2 of the formula is to confirm what it is they are saying. So John and Helen, just so I'm clear, you feel right now if you went with this cheaper rate that you're saving money each week and in the long run there'll be more money left in your pocket as part of your investment. Is that what you're thinking? Yes, it is. It's really important in step 2 that they understand, you understand what they're trying to say and they have been heard. So welcome it on board, step 1. Step 2, confirm what it is they are saying. Step 3 is different. I can understand you thinking that. I've had a lot of clients who have assessed my service against the competition. This happens to me every day. But we've now got 850 people who've entrusted our company with their investment. Whereas quite often the lower fee rates and the cheaper offerings are people trying to build and they're doing whatever they can to get to that level. The reason they're not at that level is the infrastructure, the technology, the booking systems. Everything we have is an organisational approach and you can't shortcut that. And if you go out there and offer these large fees or low fees to large audiences, you'll get volume but you can't deliver on the service. That's probably the reason I've chosen to work at this company myself, is standards. I don't want to work in any company that takes shortcuts. But I can understand your feelings as an investor about there's a potential of saving money. There is no shortcuts to a great tenant or property. There is a methodical amount of steps and a lot of people that need to have one eye on the future to protect the investment. But what I can offer you is our dedication. And like everyone who's made that decision to go ahead with us, they feel their asset is protected. No different to taking insurance, no different than insurance on your own personal home. You want to know you're covered. And I think that's what we offer you, but you are the boss. You are the person engaging, and we'd love to be the person that represents you long term, not just for this property, but for your family and portfolio. But if you perceive there's a discount and someone doing that is a short-term gain, I can't stop you from doing it. But I've got many investors who've regretted that decision and have come back to a professional service end to end. So the last part of the formula is to send it back as the example and the reason, but always give them the courtesy that it's your choice, it's up to you, should you decide to go. Now the word should is a control word that should you decide to engage them, which means they have the control, versus when you decide to engage us, that's that arrogance. And people dig into arrogance, they give into courtesy. So it's a 4-step formula, but always welcome it on board and calm down the situation. And by the way, final tip, within the tip I'm giving, it's quite okay to say, no, that wouldn't be possible for us. Is there any other questions you may have? Not every objection is an objection, it's just a question. So for example, the real estate industry is driving the signals into the marketplace that you can get people cheaper. So when people say, oh, would you go for less? No, that's our fee for service and the tools of trade we need to do the job properly. Do you have any other questions that I can answer? And move straight off it, Not every objection is an objection, it could be just a question. I'm Lee Woodward. If you haven't seen us before, I'm from the Real Estate Academy and we do property management training and sales. And we also run the Real Estate Hot Topics Property Management Audio, which you may have received as a gift at some point from Inspect Real Estate. Thank you for joining us and good luck for the future.